Hey Midlothian, how are you doing? My name's Tim, and I'm sitting here with my favorite current mayor, Justin Coffman.
Yeah, how are you guys? Help Tim.
Justin, how long you been mayor?
I've been mayor since May. Was
Okay.
elected to the city council in 2018 as city council place 5. Served as the mayor pro tem for 3 out of those 5 years, and currently elected mayor back in May, following the great one and only Mr. Richard Reno, who served well for 4 years, and then he retired his city position, and I ran for it, and here we are.
So when you got elected, first thing they did was deliver your Ferrari, right?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people seem to
Okay,
think.
well, you know.
My wife says, when are we going to see some of these payoffs that everybody on social media is accusing you of
Oh
taking?
yeah. Oh my favorite. Oh my favorite. Yes. I'll be honest. I'll be a little candid here. It really does kind of wrinkle my nose when people don't really pay attention to what's happening in the town. They'll just, and I'm sure they're angry. They're angry at the cost of, like the rising cost of groceries and gas and everything. Like people are under a lot of pressure, but I think it unfortunately it comes out in some awkward ways when people say things like, "Oh, the city council's just spending our money as if it doesn't matter," or they're all on the take, or that sort of thing. And I've
Follow the money.
yeah. Oh, yeah, that was my favorite. But I've known my fair share of city councilmen, and they the money that they do have, is commiserate with their vocation.
Yeah.
I've seen, and maybe it's because this type of position attracts people who are generally successful in other ways. Or I'm not really sure what the correlation there is, but we wind up with people who are good at managing money and looking at books and that sort of thing. And I think with few exceptions, especially on the current council, everybody has Midlothian's best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things that aren't within the city council's control.
Right.
Okay. My favorite is, hey, city council, why don't you get us a Chipotle or insert your favorite steak restaurant.
Working on all that. Working on those
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that it's not the city council that determines what businesses come to Midlothian. I mean, those businesses have to come to Midlothian on their own. Depending on what type of business they are, they may get some. You may get some sort of say in some minor part of their business,
Sure.
okay? And for example, the hotel that is coming, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but.
Yeah, a lot of people, there's a lot of confusion there because we don't determine the brand. We determine the use.
Right.
And so
Of the land.
Of the land,
Yeah.
yeah. So we can say yes or no restaurant in this area. We can't say yes or no Chick-fil-A versus McDonald's. Like we can't determine which is going to go
Right.
there. That's market driven. They do all their study. We determine per the land, per the facility, what can go there. Is it a restaurant? Does it have a drive-through? Does it meet the adequate parking spots?
Right.
Because as it should be, all of that is free market driven. And who am I to tell an investor that wants to invest in a McDonald's that or any other business that, hey, just because that's not my preferred McDonald's, or because we have a McDonald's elsewhere in the city, who am I to tell an investor that's investing their life savings into some sort of organization that it's not my preference? I don't want another chicken place or whatever
Right.
the case may be. I prefer another burger place. That's, to me, that kills the free market, and so
Yeah.
it's anti-American.
There's a lot of laws, regulations, and legislative guidance we have on all that stuff. It's really, very little is actually up to you guys in the end.
Typically, yeah, that's what a lot of people don't understand is that at the state level, they seem to be actively doing all that they can possibly do to take over control of cities and school districts and local government entities. And for better or for worse, I don't really have a strong opinion on that, other than I believe that the local elected leaders should have more of a direct impact into how a community is developed, how it's built out.
I think everybody would agree that that at the local level, the local leaders have at least a more connected perspective or view of what's going on.
So the way the state seems to be trending and structuring things is they have more of an influence, a direct impact into all of it, from taxing to what buildings look like to building products that can be used and all sorts of things. And I guess my response as a local elected leader is that our job now becomes less about making direct, impactful decisions on what goes in our community and more about advocating for our community to our state level leadership and other cities. So so we've seen a bit of a transition over the last 5 or 6 years down that path. For instance, and I could be wrong on the year, but pre-2021 or so, if you were going to build a building in Midlothian, there was a requirement that it had to be 90% masonry or stone.
Right.
And so that's why you saw every new house being built was stone and brick and even masonry wood
Well, I remember when what is now the KFC over there
Yeah.
On Main Street, when it went before City Council, KFC was never in the agenda.
Yeah.
It was this building at this location.
Yeah.
And what you guys were really looking at were, again, the parking spots in the drive-through, but also
building material.
the building material.
And that's
And
important.
it was painted brick. And, it's for a KFC, it's a nice-looking building. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
And because that's what the community of Midlothian is and has been historically, is best possible product that's going to last the longest amount of time so that there's not deferred maintenance on these buildings. And so whenever you slap up the cheapest wood that you can possibly slap up, if you're a
Right.
developer, your job is to build this thing out as fast as possible, move on to the next
Make
one.
as much profit as you can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what we were looking at as a community was quality of the materials. But the state came in around 2021, it might have been 2020 or 2019, came in and said, no, here's a new law we're putting in place that says the city can no longer regulate building materials. And so what we're seeing as a result is we're seeing more metal buildings pop up. We're seeing more, I'd say, less quality construction as far as building materials goes. We still have our standards as far as our inspections process and all that good stuff, but as far as building materials goes.
We still have the ability to make sure that the wind isn't going to blow it over.
Yeah. So it's has to do more, in my opinion, about what maintenance would look like in 10, 20, 30 years from now. Because you look at some of the older houses that were built with wood before masonry was a real popular thing, or before masonry boards were the thing. And you look at what that construction is now, and there's a lot of rotting wood out there, and there's a lot of paint peeling and all those sorts of things. But
Right. Well, some of the older homes, I mean, you know as well as anybody, the older homes that were wood and that sort of thing, especially like downtown, the ones that were taken care of are gorgeous. And then you've got ones that weren't taken care of, and you can really tell.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the neighborhoods that are all brick, there's less of a delta, I think, between the ones that were taken care of and not taken care of. They're a little more consistent.
You zoom out and you look at what the market's doing, and I
Right.
didn't know that we were prepared to go down this path today.
Oh,
but
well,
we'll
do
it. You zoom out and you look at what the market's doing, and the cost to get into a home is so high, even a starter home is so high, so
Yeah.
that puts people in starter homes typically renting, so investors are buying these homes.
Yeah.
And typically they're not maintained as well because you have a renter situation or an investor that's just not. There's a lot of deferred maintenance. I'll just put it that way.
Sure.
And so when you combine the perfect storm of renter mentality, for lack of a better term, or that's not my responsibility to replace that wood or to paint that wood,
Right.
and then the investor that doesn't want to invest more money into the home, combined with lower quality building material, is
Yeah.
sort of a perfect storm. So we at the city of Midlothian, we historically have done everything we can possibly do in order to have the best quality possible. And all of that being said, businesses, developers down the road know that when they invest in Midlothian, Midlothian demands a higher quality product. Not Midlothian the city, but more Midlothian the citizen.
Yeah.
Like, there's an expectation that I will get a larger return on my investment if I'm a developer in the city of Midlothian than I would in some other surrounding cities. So therefore, I'm willing to bring a better product. And I think because we have a history of that, we're not seeing it to the extreme that we could have seen it otherwise, the negative effect.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that makes much sense, but that's my theory.
Yeah. You know, the reality is that, you know, commercial property, industrial property, those are the most valuable real estate because that's where you make your money, whether you're selling the land or whether you're working that land, you know, a factory or whatever. And, you know, I think having a council that well represents the citizens is a real benefit to them because you can kind of make sure that the location of those places make the most sense.
Yeah, and it's a huge need in our community. The industrial user, the commercial user, that all of our residents drive past every day but may never stop. It's a huge need because for many reasons. But one is it provides jobs.
Yeah.
It provides jobs and it provides good paying jobs often, and which is a major need in our community. But also, ultimately, it will, over time, will lessen the tax burden on the homeowner.
You bring that up, and so let me give a great example of how that works. You know, and this is interesting. I think that this is something that the entire council should be trumpeting from the rooftops.
Yeah.
A success that you had, and I think you know where I'm going with this, but
We'd like to let you do the trumpeting.
Okay. Well, we you know, we have those factories and, you know, the Google data center down there, and all these things that are bringing in tax money at various levels, and we use that to run the city and can lessen the tax burden on the citizens. And one of the ways that you recently did that in practice actually happened is what, a 20% the homestead exemption. Yeah. So if you own a home in Midlothian that you live in, the city council exempted 20% of the value of your property from being taxed. That is not something that the businesses get to enjoy. That is something that, heck, that's not even something that landlords get to enjoy. That is for the citizens that live in their home in Midlothian. And
Yeah.
I mean, that is, 20% is, am I wrong that that's the maximum legal amount that you could do?
Per state law.
Yeah, the state limits you to 20%. Okay, so you gave the citizens a 20% exemption, which is the most you could legally give them.
Which I think there's only one other city in the DFW Metroplex that has that.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The other cities, some of them are like 1%, 3%, 5%. And we just knocked that one out of the park with 20% straight out of the gate.
Yeah.
And so let me just say, you know, as someone who may benefit from that, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, and I know a lot of the people don't even know that they're thanking you right now.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well, just for clarity, it's 10% for this tax bill, and it'll be 20% for next year's.
Okay, right.
So we have a stair-step plan, and this is something that's been a long time in the making. Several council members have been discussing this for a couple of years now, and we were able to, because of, I believe, to be wise investments in allowing industrial and some of our larger users come in. It's enabled this current council to be able to pull that off. So I accept your thanks on behalf of the city council, because it certainly wasn't just me. It was definitely a collaborative, and it was a unanimous vote.
I was gonna ask you if it was unanimous, and so, you know, anytime somebody is talking about the city council, every single one of them, whether they're talking about the council as a whole or, you know, an individual council person, every single one of them voted to give you as a citizen
Mm-hmm.
the maximum tax exemption that it can.
As soon as
And that's-
possible, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's a huge step. We've had many successes regarding taxes over the last and I'm not because of me, just because of my time that I've been involved. But
Sure.
since I've been heavily involved, we've seen the tax rate steadily decrease. We've seen many exemptions come into play, including a senior citizens taxable value freeze, which is huge. We're no longer taxing our seniors out of their homes.
I know that was. I'm going to have to take a second to say this.
Art,
yeah. God rest his soul. He was real intent on a few things when he got elected, and that was one of them. Was that senior citizen exemption?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad we were able to get that for him
Absolutely.
while he was with us.
Missed that guy. Yeah, so senior citizens tax exemption. Recently this year, we adopted a disabled homeowners tax exemption.
Yep, a disability exemption.
Yeah.
That's great.
And so we're doing some good things, some big things. There's a lot of positives that have taken place over the last couple of years.
Well,
And
I appreciate the council is watching out for people that have challenges beyond what they have. The senior citizens, the disabled.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And with that said, so I know that people watching this will say, well, you saw a drastic increase in your budget last year, while you're also you're offsetting it on some level with these things. It's not completely offsetting it.
Sure.
And to that, I would say that yes, there was some budget increases, just like everybody else's home budget increased.
I mean, I'm my grocery budget increased.
Things are more expensive.
Yeah.
There's more out there. We are a growing city with some major infrastructure needs, and whether people want to acknowledge it or not, the DFW Metroplex is growing exponentially.
All of it.
And it's coming here, even at a greater level than we've already experienced. And if we aren't prepared for it, our city will look a whole lot different than it could otherwise.
Yeah.
So I believe, at least the bulk of our council, I'm not going to speak for any individuals, but I believe the bulk of our council views tax rate discussions, budget discussions as you got to be playing chess and not checkers, and you have to be very strategic. I believe we are all. None of us like taxes. We don't like to pay taxes. It's not a fun thing. It's not fun to get property taxed. I get it.
Yeah.
But also, it's not fun to live in a junky city.
No.
It's not fun to not be able to trust that when I turn the water faucet on, I'm going to get good, clean water.
Well, and that's where I think a lot of people, there are many different opinions on this, obviously, right? And some of the more extreme things would, you get the angry people that, are mad about any of their money going away, and I can certainly value that opinion. But they would say, well, any city service is socialism or something along those lines, and the far extreme end would prefer socialism. But I think in the middle, the reasonable, rational person hopefully realizes that property taxes especially, you pay where you play. That's the difference between property taxes and like sales tax and state tax and that sort of thing, right? And when you pay those taxes, you are investing in your local community.
Yeah.
And it's the community that is, you put the roads there that benefit everybody that lives in all the neighborhoods. And so, the fact that you like living here might be because you have certain neighbors. Well, those certain neighbors live here because they've got roads to get to their houses, and there are business spots where they may have a job locally, or
Parks where their kids can play.
Parks, and Speaking of which, we've got a concert this weekend. Am I going to see you at that?
I hope so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I try not to
Saturday.
miss any of them.
What do you think is the biggest difference between being a councilman and being the mayor? Which a lot of people may not know this, but the mayor is more or less just a councilman with a couple extra little responsibilities. And those responsibilities include things like you determine when and where the city council meetings are,
Right.
and you have some ability to single-handedly insert something into the agenda. Is that correct?
I can put things on the agenda. In the state of an emergency, I can make decisions up to 7 days without council approval. So we're gonna say there's a whole bunch of emergencies going on, and I'm just gonna take charge.
Yeah.
Kidding, of course. The major difference that I've experienced so far again, I've 5 years on council total, half of a year being the mayor, is when you're on council, you are pulled into some issues as they arise, usually if you have a level of expertise in the situation, or if it's a situation with a particular board or commission. If you're the liaison for said board or commission, then you'd be pulled into the issue. What I've learned is, as the mayor, you're pulled into all of the issues. And so no matter what the issue is, you're involved and you're knee-deep in it. And so the time commitment is much greater than even what I expected it to be.
Interesting. Okay, so you just kind of opened up a can of worms and an opportunity for me to jump to something that I know a lot of people have taken interest in recently, which is your time obligation, but also your compensation. The being a city council person wasn't completely unpaid.
Right.
I mean, I think most people would consider it unpaid with the amount that you get. But for the typical councilman, not the mayor, but for the typical councilman, am I wrong? It was like $60 per meeting or something like that?
75.
75. Oh, yes.
For a very important
Get an
part,
extra McDonald's meal out of that.
$75 per called meeting, and there are 2
Called meetings
a month.
Right.
And so $150 a month.
Okay.
And what's being asked of that is that you be all things to all people. Right?
Sure. So like when you get invited as a councilman, or more often the mayor, when you get invited to, I don't know who to throw under the bus, the Boy Scouts fundraiser or something like that. I do love the Boy Scouts. The city picks up your ticket for that fundraiser and gives you money to spend at their auction, right?
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah, well, that's not how that works, is it?
No, not quite.
So you find yourself in a situation of an unenviable situation where you're being asked as part of the city council and or the mayor to attend all these things, and often, shell out of your own pocket for a lot of things. Sure. I know there's been plenty of times when you go to lunch with someone to talk city business, and you have to pay that out of your own pocket and often pay for the other person.
Sure.
So, I think a lot of people, we are all susceptible to the hype, if you will. The clickbait, the headlines,
yeah.
And the city council gave itself a raise. That was kind of the big thing lately.
Yeah.
But that's really what was behind that, right? So can you tell us now, just kind of factually, what the city council gets?
Yeah.
And that sort of thing?
Yeah, so you bring up some of the nonprofits and some of the fundraising efforts, and those are an honor to go to and an honor to be a part of. You do get invited to not just some of them, but all of them, which is great, and happy to be involved in those things. But I would say that that's not even the biggest, most impactful part of it. I would say that probably even more impactful is the time commitment and the energy and effort that you have to put as a good council member behind the decision-making process that you're tasked to be in. And so oftentimes, if there's a major development coming in, you're expected to go drive that development. You're expected often to meet with those developers. Mm-hmm. You're expected to have conversations with others that have a vested interest, landowners surrounding it, neighbors, landowner that's selling the land to said developer. And you can easily put 10 hours in on every single case, not to mention gas and not to mention conversations with staff and different elements in order to be fully equipped to make the best decision possible. Now multiply that times 600 or so agenda items a year, and you are looking at a full-time job.
Sure.
And in previous years, the council got paid $75 per called meeting. The mayor pro tem, which is the assistant mayor or vice mayor, for lack of a better term,
sure,
got paid $100 per called meeting, and then the mayor got $125
Okay.
called meeting. With this budget year, the city council decided to, within the budget process, up those amounts to sort of meet, to sort of offset expenses at a greater level. So what they decided to do is the city council members get $500 a month, which is really not that much more than what they were previously doing. The mayor pro tem gets $750 a month, and then the mayor gets $1,000 a month. And so I'm not complaining on any level and would absolutely be honored to do this for free. I'm grateful for the stipend that offsets some of my expenses.
Yeah.
It's still, even at that level, it's a net zero or beyond.
Well, I think even the people who want to say that you're getting paid to do your job and take issue with that it's more than zero. If you say, okay, fine, I'm on an hourly rate, and so you work. I mean, I know north of 40 hours a week. My exposure to the people who work on the council and some other volunteer positions on committees, some of these are 40-plus hour. I mean, the council is absolutely a 40-plus hour a week commitment to do a good job at it. Yeah. And so if you take the 160 to 200 hours a month that you or somebody else spend, you get $1,000 a month allegedly for pay, and then spend 200 hours a month working. Well, that's $5 an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even minimum wage.
Roughly what it works out to being. And also, you have to calculate in that we all have jobs, like full-time jobs.
Right.
And like today, for instance, I've gone from, not to toot my own horn, but just today we're filming this on what is today? Thursday.
Today's a Thursday, yep.
I have gone from a nonprofit board meeting that I was invited to come and speak at. That's where I was early this morning. I just left a daycare where I was invited to come and make a presentation to a whole bunch of 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds, which is awesome. It's a great time.
Yeah.
And then I'm here right now doing my best to communicate the business of the city to the citizens of Midlothian with you.
Sure.
And it's an honor to do so, but I'm also supposed to be at work right now, and so.
Oh, right. Well, yes, at your actual vocational
right,
paying job.
Where I work. And again, an honor to do all of these things. But if I didn't have the flexibility within my job, and the other council members as well, the flexibility within their jobs to do a good job for the citizens of Midlothian, then we wouldn't be able to serve in the capacity at the level that the citizens of Midlothian seem to demand from us.
Right.
And so the council stipend really offsets a bit of that time that many of us are taking leaves of absences from our jobs. We are taking sick days and all of our vacation days and utilizing that time in blocks in order to better serve the citizens. And most of that business, even though our city council meetings are in the evening, most of it happens during the day.
Right, yes.
Obviously not the official business, but a lot of the putting out fires and that are going on with boards and commissions, or dealing with issues at City Hall, or meeting with upset citizens about developments that are taking place in their backyards, and all these sorts of things, they typically happen during the day. And if you want effective city council members, if you want to attract the best of the best to serve your city and serve them well, at a minimum, I believe it appropriate to take care of their expenses to do so.
Sure.
And I think that that's what this stipend does.
So, Justin, what is your favorite part about serving Midlothian as the mayor? I know that you have been serving Midlothian for some time now, 5+ years officially. I know you've served Midlothian in the past in other capacities, but what is your favorite part of being on the council and even specifically being the mayor?
Yeah, by far, and it's not even close, but I enjoy the representation side of things. I enjoy representing the citizens of Midlothian at events and to the community and to potential business prospects that are coming to our town. I enjoy going to the elementary schools and reading to the kids and the daycares and explaining to them what leadership is, and what it looks like to be a part of the city council and who we are as a community. So, but really the best part of it is representing my neighbors. That's the best part of it. Yeah.
Well, I've known you for a few years now, and I have never doubted that you have a real heart for this community. I know you've been a part of this community for a long time, and like I said before, you've served the community in various ways, and this is just an opportunity for you to do so more formally. But I've always appreciated your heart for Midlothian and what in your intention for
I appreciate
Midlothian.
that. I don't always have every answer, and I don't know all there is to know. You learn something new every day is a very real thing in my world. But I do have access to find the right people that have the right answers and to get information out to the people when they have questions. But yeah, I want to believe my heart is and always has been in the right place. I was born and raised here. My parents brought me home from the hospital. They brought me to Midlothian. And all throughout school here, I graduated from college in Waxahachie, and so I'm raising my kids here. All four of my kids three of them are current MISD students, one's in college.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very passionate about our community. I am multi-generational Midlothianite, and served in many different capacities, from coaching Little League sports as a teenager to coaching my kids' sports as a young adult, to serving with Manna House from when they were in the beginning stages, back when they were on Main Street. Well, actually, it was Highway 287 back then.
Right.
So all of those things, in addition to I'm a people-driven person. Taking care of the needs of the community is where my heart is, where my head is at. I'm a local pastor who grew up in the church and now do pastoral care ministry as my day job. And so I care about people, I care about neighbors, I care about making sure that the needs of the community are taken care of. And now I just do it in a different position at a greater level. And so, yeah.
Okay. Now, when do city council meetings happen? When people ask, people just kind of blurt out every other Tuesday.
Yeah.
But what is it actually?
The second and fourth Tuesday at 6 p.m. is when our regularly scheduled meetings are.
Second and fourth. All right.
And we do have workshops occasionally, and regularly here lately. And then we do have special called meetings that are sort of random. But if there's a real pressing need on something that we need to handle immediately, we'll do that. But second and fourth Tuesdays, 6 p.m., you can know that we'll be at City Hall.
Yeah, yep. And, of course, those meetings are open to the public. Do you get a lot of people showing up to the meetings?
It depends on the topic.
Yeah.
If we're talking budget and tax rate or something divisive, then more people show up. And honestly, it's encouraged. Like I believe I speak for every council member when I say that we want people to come. We want you to be there. We want you to let your voice be heard. Every citizen can sign up to speak on any of the topics that are listed on the agenda, and you get 3 minutes to share your opinion on them. Legally, if it's not on the agenda, if it's a topic that's not on the agenda, we can't converse. We can't discuss as a council because it hasn't gone through the proper posting process. But you are welcome to come and passionately share about the pothole that's on your street, or brag about the service you got from the police department, fire department, or to come and share whatever your passions are about. But if it is something on the agenda, you are welcome to come and share your opinion of should a hotel go there or should a hotel not go there, should another chicken place go there or not.
We need more fried chicken places.
Yeah, and I'll also say that we're limited on how we can respond, but it doesn't mean that your words are falling on deaf ears.
Right.
And so what you say matters, and also how you say it matters. So come and share your opinion, but do so professionally and as a good neighbor, and recognize that we are just your neighbors tasked
in
with
the
making
same
these
community.
decisions. Yeah.
So a citizen would have multiple opportunities to speak. There's generally kind of an open forum that they can speak on anything they want, at the front of
At the beginning, and we do that
yeah.
intentionally. We could put that anywhere on the agenda. We do it in the beginning intentionally so that to encourage people to come. You don't have to stay the whole time.
Right. So
know?
you can come in, speak for 3 minutes about whatever you want, and then leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I've been there. Oh man, what was that? There was something to do with the water rights or something like. And that part of the meeting was like 3 hours by itself,
Yeah.
and I don't think you had anybody in there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, after that started, but you moved everything else that people wanted to deal with
Yeah.
up to the front, so they didn't have to stay through.
Yeah.
You know, the real snorer of of a topic.
Okay, so there's some things that can get a bit monotonous,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they're important elements of city business.
It
But
is, and you know, obviously, water and water rights are very important.
Yeah, they're just not as entertaining sometimes.
No,
but
no.
Yeah, so we do typically try to stage the agenda according to how many people might show up on said agenda item, and I have the ability as the mayor to reorganize in the meeting, and in order to let as many people come and be heard and not feel like they have to stay the whole time. Of course, they're welcome to stay the whole
Right.
time.
And so they can speak openly about anything up front, and then as each agenda item is visited on, if you have something specific to say about that item, you're invited up there to speak for 3 minutes on that specific item. So
Yeah, and it's state regulated that you have to fill out a form so that we can have it all on record.
Yep.
And it's as simple as I'll ask the city secretary will call your name. If you filled out the form, she'll call your name. I will ask you to come to the front. You'll share your name and whether or not you're a citizen of Midlothian. We no longer require you to state your address.
Right.
But
you do have
live
to
in
put it on the form.
on the
right?
form, yes,
But
but
it's not read out in public.
It's not read out publicly.
Okay.
no. I personally weigh decisions heavier if you are a citizen of Midlothian because you have a vested interest in our community at that point.
I think a lot of people would agree with
Yeah.
that being the right thing to do.
And then you get 3 minutes, and then we put a little timer up, and you share your thoughts.
Yeah, I do wish people would be a little bit more involved in the city, and we have actually a great system that the meetings are recorded. When you watch the recording, if you don't want to watch the entire thing, the agenda for the meeting is on the same page as the video, and you can click on each individual agenda item, and it takes you to that part of the video. That's actually really cool and a time saver for someone who's very interested in something specific, couldn't make the meeting, they want to see the video, that sort of thing.
According to state law, you are not required to live stream or video record your meetings until you're a city of at least 50,000. When we were roughly 30,000, our city council proactively said, no, we want to start streaming now for the sake of transparency.
Yeah.
And so kudos to the council that I was blessed to be a part of back in 2019-ish that was able to get that pushed through.
Yeah, and that had been kind of a controversial thing before. Some people didn't want it recorded, but
Not only that, but we also record and stream all of our planning and zoning meetings. And so if
above and beyond.
Yeah, if you want to know what's coming to town and what's being developed where, check out those agendas and log in and watch.
And so that's a real challenge for those people that impugn bad motives on the council. If you were trying to get rich off of being on the council, like a lot of people would allege, it seems like you wouldn't want the level of transparency that you have. And even now, you're not required to record and stream all that.
No.
The only thing that's required is
Audio record.
and for Tammy to take the minutes and record how each person voted.
Yep.
So that's again, kudos to you and the council people who made that happen.
Yeah, it was a big win for sure for the
I
citizens.
remember when you were running originally, transparency was one of your,
Yeah, and again, to Art's credit, he was a big part of that.
Yep.
And when Mayor Reno was elected, right off the bat, that was one thing that both of us passionately shared with him. And to his credit, he got it on the agenda. And I believe it was not unanimous, but we got it through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything you want to just kind of share?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, I'm honored to be a part of the city's leadership team and honored to represent the city council in communications to the community. It's one thing that I'm passionate about, is being open and accessible and transparent and available to the community as much as I possibly can, while also understanding I have a full-time job and a family and a lot of life going on. But it's the honor of my life to serve in this capacity, and proud to do so. I'll say that there's a ton of good that goes on in our town, and it's really easy and surface level, frankly, to just harp on the negative. Dive deep. Recognize that this community is unique. Our neighbors are unique. They're good people, and sometimes you have to dig a little deeper to get past some of the issues, because there's issues. There's always issues, but dig a little deeper and find the gold. And one thing that I like to say at the close of every speech and every interview that I'll do with you and everywhere else is, a community is the sum of its parts. The community is the sum of the people that represent it, that are involved in it. We create community, and so let's create a good one. And we have the ability to do that. And so I charge you watching this podcast, and I charge you, Tim, and I charge myself with the mantle of understanding that I create the community that I live in. And so, by God, I'm going to do all I can to create a good one, and I know you'll do the same.
Aye, aye, Skipper.
Yeah.